Order. I would like to welcome everyone joining us in person and via live stream. Thank you for being here. All of our board members are present, with the exception of Heather Clark, who is excused. The purpose of the work session tonight is to receive operational reports from the administration and to discuss matters as a board. The first item on the agenda is public written comment. Written comment was not received, and I have no requests for in-person comments, so we will move on. We will begin with the Friends of the Children update, presented by A.J. Watson and Gina Judd. Please do continue.
Okay. Just need to stand up. I'm Gina Judd. I'm the Director of Friends of the Children. I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor, but now I'm doing this work. And I'm here to explain to you what it is how it works, answer questions, and see if this feels like something that would benefit the youth in the School District 25 population. So our model is professional mentoring, different from any other mentoring that you know. Yes. Sorry, Elaine.
For the live stream, do we need her in the microphone?
It would probably be best if you could stay seated and use the microphone.
I just thought for the
Sorry.
public,
Thank you.
they want to hear this.
Yeah.
Sure, I would like them to hear it too. I don't want anyone to not hear. Also, I forgot to introduce Eduardo. He is one of our professional mentors, and he's here to help answer questions that you may have because he's the one who does the work with the youth, one of the ones who does it. So our work is professional mentoring, and we want to empower children who are facing really tremendous obstacles with opportunities for growth and changing the trajectories that they might be facing through poverty and trauma. This is our motto: we are resilient, we are relentless so that they will be resilient. And that speaks very much to the depth of the relationships that we develop with the youth. This is, research has shown that the most important aspect of any individual, particularly children, in overcoming trauma is the loving, consistent, caring relationship with an adult. And this image is of Cardina and her mentor, Ms. Rena. Cardina was a youth in one of the very first cohorts of Friends of the Children in Portland. She had faced a lot of adversity by the time she was 4, and she was in 2024 named the Tennessee Teacher of the Year, and she attributes her success in overcoming the challenges that she faced and the grit and perseverance to continue on to her mentor, Ms. Rena, who has since passed on. In a nutshell, this is our model. We identified the children who need the presence of a consistent, caring adult the most, and we pair them with a highly trained professional mentor who we call a friend. We walk beside those youth and their caregivers for 12 plus years, no matter what, period. That's, in a nutshell, the model. There are some steps in between there, of course, but they're supporting those 3 main interventions. So the first step is we seek out the children who are facing the greatest obstacles and who are at the highest statistical risk for failing out of school and continuing in a pathway of trauma and poverty based on their early life experiences. By the time they're 4, 5, or 6, which is our only enrollment window, that's when a child can enter the program. They have experienced typically 4 of the 10 adverse childhood experiences that have been shown to be very destructive, both physically and emotionally and mentally. And you can see on the screen that this is usually a systemic problem or has pieces of a systemic problem because their caregivers before them have had challenges with completing school, with maintaining employment, with maintaining the stability that's really key in a young child's success. So we focus a lot on the barriers that they experience, but it's important to remember these children are like any other child with unique talents, with big dreams, with big hopes, and our role is to just empower them over those obstacles to achieve those. I've talked a little bit about the barriers that they face, so I won't spend a lot of time on that, but you should know that currently 100% of the children in our program are well below the federal poverty limit. So we're talking about the children whose families, sometimes they've been homeless when they come to us. Sometimes they're one car repair bill away from homelessness or medical bill. Many of them don't have any transportation. Step 2, we employ professional full-time mentors to work with these youth. And that's one of the key differences of the mentoring that we provide from any other mentoring organization. Because most mentoring organizations, the mentors are volunteers, which is worthwhile and beneficial, and we don't have any problem with it. But the youth that we're talking about, the ones we target, already have a lot of instability. And so in order to have that key research component of a consistent caring adult, we've moved the mentorship out of the volunteer realm into the professional realm, because when people's life circumstances change, unless it's a health issue, they typically don't quit their job. And so that allows us to continue having that strong connection for the youth and that stability. And on average, across the nation, I didn't mention this program's been around since 1993. We're the first and only Idaho chapter, and we've been here in Idaho for 2 years, serving families in American Falls. But nationally, the average tenure of a full-time professional mentor called a friend is 5 years. Some have been around for as long as 20. And then number 3, we commit to every child once they're enrolled. Once a family has said, yes, we want this to be part of our experience, we continue to commit to them. So if the child ends up in foster care, we continue to serve them. If they move, we continue to serve them as long as we can, as long as it can fit our model, which we'll talk about in a second in terms of the education piece. If they move, we try to put them far away out of our area, then we'll try to put them into, if there's another chapter, then they will enroll them. If they move out and they move back in, we will re-enroll them. We commit to those 12 years. And so on average, across the nation, youth have 2 to 3 mentors throughout those 12 years. Sometimes they have the same mentor for all 12, but that's difficult for anyone to commit to. None of us know for sure we'll be doing what we're doing now in 12 years, even if we would love to. So, and step 4 is individualized and intentional. Each mentor spends 3 to 4 hours a week with each youth from the time we enroll them through the time they graduate from high school, summers, vacations, all of the things, not just when school's in session. And 2 of those hours, particularly when the youth are in elementary school, happen in the classroom supporting the youth. The youth that we work with typically, because of their early challenging experiences and the instability they face, they often, I should say, not typically, but they often have learning or behavioral challenges. And the mentor's support in the classroom helps them stay in the classroom many times, rather than needing to be pulled out, maybe miss instruction, et cetera, because of behaviors or meltdowns. And Eduardo can really speak to that when you guys have questions. Another piece that's important is, so the mentors and the caregivers talk with one another when we're enrolling the youth and annually to identify what would better look like. What do you want to be different in your life? And they set goals, and the mentors incorporate those goals into their activities with the youth. They also incorporate key assets that have been shown to be components of success, such as the capacity to have perseverance and grit, the capacity to build positive relationships, the capacity to have hope and optimism, the capacity to have self-management, so they can manage their emotions, their outbursts, have a filter, those sorts of things. There are 9 of them, but those are just a few. And we create meaningful experiences to help them identify their passions and nurture their talents. So that's how it looks in terms of the planning process. So a friend works with 8 children at a time. I don't mean, there are 8 children on their roster, and they spend 4 hours a week with each child, and then the remaining 8 hours of a 40-hour work week is spent in planning and record keeping and all of that sort of thing. So that's how the time is broken out. And I was talking a little bit about where this work occurs. It happens in the home, in the school, and out in the community. And we really focus on the whole child approach. We know that some of them are very, very smart children, and what they need is being able to have the behavior, the grit to see a test through. They might get tired of the test or get burdened with their own inner talk of, I can't do this, I don't want to do this. And the mentors often will just help them through that so they can demonstrate their mastery rather than just getting upset and quitting. And mentors often, well, not often, they always become somebody that the family trusts. That might take some time, but they also become key advocates. When something goes wrong, when there's a challenge in the home, often the friend is the first one that the caregivers call and ask them, I'm having a challenge here. How can you help me? One of the youth was having a really hard time doing his homework. His mom's a single mom. She has 5 little kids. They lost their dad a few years ago. And this middle son is who Eduardo was working with. Just mom really wants him to do well in school and was trying to structure. You come home from school, you do your homework, and then you can have free time. That wasn't working for this little boy after sitting still in school all the time and really managing his energy in that space. He was really done with that by the time he came home. So Eduardo was able to talk with the mom about maybe that strategy's not the best. What if we tried having a half an hour of bike riding time and then letting him get to his homework so he could get some big energy out? Well, that would work fine, except for he keeps getting flat tires and I can't maintain his bike. Eduardo took it upon himself to involve the little boy's older brother to purchase a bike kit and teach them both how to repair the bicycle so that he could then use that intervention and be able to succeed in his classes. So that's an example of the whole child approach and how having a friend in the home kind of ripples out to the mother was helped, their relationship was helped, the older brother had some self-esteem and some skill that he could begin to share to the family. It was just really powerful. So we advocate for the youth in all the types of ways. Often that was an example of Eduardo advocating for the school and the homework on behalf to the mother, but often it works the other way around. A friend might share with a teacher, XYZ is happening in the youth's home, always with the parent's permission. And I know that last night such and such happened. So you might expect Johnny to be a little bit lethargic today. Maybe you can take that with a grain of salt, understanding what's happening for him, for example. And there's not a slide for this, but our 6th step is that we continuously evaluate, measure, and improve. We have surveys that we ask the youth and the caregivers annually. We compile data on that. We compile data on how they're progressing in school based on their grades. We're not intrusive with the data that we ask, but we do need to know and partner with the school. Like, what are the behavior challenges that you're having? How did he do this week with managing his temper, or she with staying on task? How were there any times that they needed to be removed from the classroom when I wasn't there? Were they in school? Oh, they weren't. Let me see what I can do to help get them there. Those kinds of things. So we're constantly working on that and gathering data to help us improve. But this is some of the data that we have gathered over the course of the last 30 plus years. And youth in our program, 83% of them obtain a GED, even when roughly 50% of their parents didn't have the support needed to do that. 92% go on to what we call the 3 E's: employment, enlistment, or higher education. 93% remain free from the juvenile justice system, even though roughly 60% of their parents have been involved with criminal justice. And 98% successfully delay parenting until they are prepared to shoulder the burdens of raising a family. And in those ways, they have the skills and the certification that they need to move ahead in life financially through them to be a good employee. And they also are not burdened by additional barriers that they may have brought on themselves through, like having a child or being involved in the criminal justice system, things like that. So that is, in a nutshell, the program. And just this last piece, so a study by the Harvard Business School Association of Oregon determined long ago, when they were only focusing on the changes for the youth, the expenses of a youth in the program, not on the ripple effect for the families, but for every dollar invested, it saves the community $7 in unspent social costs. Costs that are not incurred by being in the juvenile justice system, for example. costs that are not incurred because we're working to help the families support their needs. And so there's often less reliance on state welfare, for example, because we're helping connect them. That might not always be the case, but that is our effort and our goal. In fact, one little boy, when we met him and enrolled him as a kindergartner, was living in a camp trailer in a campground with his mom, who was about to have a baby, her boyfriend, and 3 other adults in a tiny camp trailer. Little kindergarten boy with big, big energy. And we worked really hard to create some stability for that family because that's only going to benefit the youth. And so before mom had the baby, well, before she came home from the hospital, we were able to help them resolve the issues they had, and they have an apartment. And since then, there have been some moving in and moving out of other people in the home that has created a little instability. There's also been some involvement with criminal justice system and things like that, but he still has had the same home, which is tremendous. And his relationship with Eduardo is really beautiful. When this has been a year ago, we had a new program director who was getting to know the family, and she knew about the history of the enrollment and the configuration of the family, and she was asking him, "Tell me about your family." "Well, I have 2 brothers. And in her head, she's like, "You have 2 brothers? You just have 1 little brother." "Well, there's my little brother, and there's my big brother, Eduardo." And the relationship that gets developed with this consistency is deep and long, and that's the intervention. We're not another social worker. We're not another educator. We're not another law enforcement officer. We're a friend, and we're there to support like a friend supports, to listen, to coach, to encourage, to motivate, to hold accountable when needed. That's what Eduardo and the other mentors in our organization do. And it saves money and brings results.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you. Of course, now is our opportunity to ask questions and have a discussion. Who would like to go first?
Okay. I wrote several down. When a mentor wants to go to the classroom with the child, what's the process? Do they need to, make sure it's okay with the teacher, the principal, like they go through all the same channels, but a parent has the right to be there, but they don't really necessarily have to, the teacher doesn't necessarily have to give them permission to be there, correct?
We like to work in partnership with the schools, and so, Eduardo, maybe you can speak to some of the ways that you have worked with the teachers to support their work and not detract and facilitate support of the child.
So American Falls has their school open house right before the first day of school. So that's my opportunity to go to speak with the teachers and let them know what my role is in their classroom. In my experience, they're all really excited to have another adult in the classroom to be able to support that one child. But I am also noticing when I need to help children around them, I let them know of the different ways I could support the youth and how I could best support them as they're having a lesson or any kind of activity in their classroom.
Also, is there a way for parents or teachers to request help from the program, or is it only you determining with those 4 areas?
That's a really, like you're asking about how does a child, can a parent say, I want my child in this program?
Yeah.
They can say that. We work to find the children who are most without an advocate. And so a lot of times there are children who have had a lot of adverse experiences, but they also might have a parent or a grandparent who's active in ensuring that they have counseling and ensuring that they have other sorts of supports. Those are the children that have already, in a large measure, what we offer. Mm-hmm. We're looking for the children who, when the teachers go home at night, they're like, Sally would really succeed if she had someone who could sit down with her and make sure she finished her homework. But I know that's not her circumstance, and so my heart bleeds for her. That kind of experiences who we're looking for. We work closely with enrollment partners, which can include Head Start, it can include CASA, it can include Health and Welfare, it can include administrators, like, we want to hear, we need your eyes and ears and suggestions about the youth that you think might benefit. And then, with your help, especially if you're the ones who know the youth, we invite you to help us contact the family and present them with the opportunity. It might even just be, hey, there's this opportunity. Your child shows, let me back up a little bit. We use a tool that's research-backed that that identifies as much as somebody would know. Do you know, does the child have they had any of these adverse experiences? Do they also have any of these strengths? Because in the end of the day, our work counteracts the adverse childhood experiences with a sheer number of positive childhood experiences.
Okay.
And so that's what we use, and a family can self-refer, but they may or may not be the child who needs us the most.
Okay, I have 3 more questions.
Thanks.
Can the mentor contact this child directly, or do they need to always have the parent involved? Like, for example, a teacher is not allowed to text a student by themselves. And if there is a time when a coach or anybody, it needs to be in a group text with the parent.
Yes, that's what we expect as well.
Okay.
Our youth right now,
And
the
also,
oldest
is there, what was that?
the oldest youth we have right now is 8, and so typically the texting, the communication is happening through the parent.
I just want to know what the rules are.
Yeah. Would you
So
add
that
anything
they're,
to that?
are they able to, through Facebook, through Messenger, through an app, through gaming, anything?
In my experience, since they're so young, that kind of conversation hasn't been brought up. But I
But
do
you
have,
rules in place for that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so they are not allowed to contact the child without the parents in the loop?
Right.
Okay. Also, are they allowed to be alone with the child?
Yes and no. We focus on 2 principles, that all activities with youth must be observable and interruptible. So there are times when they are not with another adult. However, we have dash cams in the cars so that when they're transporting youth to and from school or from the clubhouse, the dash cams are always on and they're regularly reviewed. And in our clubhouse, should there be an occurrence where there is nobody else there, we have cameras as well to support the safety of everybody involved. So.
And do you let the parents know if there won't be another adult there at that time? Or?
We explain to the families as we enroll them, like, here's what it typically looks like. There are these potential times when this could happen. Here's how we address it. Are you comfortable with that?
Okay, and as far as getting the school records or any other records, does that go through the parents?
The parents sign a release for that. We haven't ever asked for any records, so to
Okay,
speak.
just the school.
Just regular communication. How did you do on your test? Can I talk with the teacher and see how the grades are? Can we look at, and often the parents will invite the mentors to parent-teacher conferences with them. So there's not a lot of, please send us this child's records.
Okay, and what about, I know that they're not licensed counselors, so is there a very clear, expectation that they are not going to counsel the child as if they were a counselor?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then, oh, sorry.
No,
And along with that, I just want to be sure, like, teachers are, have professional standards, and they are not allowed to have conversations with kids or students about sensitive topics. What is your program's guidance on that?
the students that we work with, when they come to us with a question, we do our very best to answer the question with respect to the youth's culture and family and religious preferences. So there's not a rule that says, I'm sorry, you cannot talk to this child about X, Y, Z. But there is your child's been asking me about X, Y, Z. Here's what I've told them. This is what I've said. Please you should probably ask your mom that question, or maybe we could talk to your parents together about that question.
So do
There's
you have
a lot
a
of-
rule that it says that you refer that to the parent and you go to the parent and say they ask about this?
That happens, it comes up in the training. In the training, they're taught. So there's a lot of, you're talking about some pretty fuzzy gray areas because the mentors are friends. Those would not maybe be unusual, they're professional friends. Those wouldn't be unusual questions that a child might ask someone that they trust. It also, I can recognize that there could be some sensitivity or maybe even some danger around that.
Yeah.
And so as in their professional training, they are taught really clear ways that that should be handled. But there's not a rule like this is a taboo topic, because part of what we're trying to do is support the youth where they are. But if one arises, then there's guidance around this is how you would handle that. This is what you should do.
Right, I'm just referring kind of to standards that teachers follow.
We're
And-
not
and
teachers,
things
so we
like
don't
that.
have the same standards.
Well, I only mean in terms of safety of the children. And so
I
that's
think
really
my
what I'm-
answer is yes, but I guess I'm not really clear. I think,
Just in
like-
terms of, is it very clear what,
what would
you
you
know,
say, Eduardo? Is it
is
very
allowed
clear?
to be discussed? And if there's, you know, a referral to the parents, like, they asked me this question, and you just go to the parent and say, you know, bring the parent in the loop.
That's the expectation
Yeah.
always.
When a sensitive topic will come up within the child, we do our best to listen and ask questions in a way that won't make the child feel uncomfortable. If they don't wish to speak of it, then we won't. And in a safe situation, we do let the parent know they've been asking these kinds of questions, and just get clarification from the families.
To maybe further elaborate, we are mandatory reporters. And so there is a lot of training and regular review of what is our role, what must be reported, how do we sensitively respond to a disclosure if one were to be made, so that we wouldn't jeopardize a forensic interview, for example, if the child had made a disclosure of sexual abuse, for example. So there's a lot of training around all of that.
Did you have a question? Did you have a question? Oh, no, I'm done.
My one question is, on the, when you said that the parents sign a release form to get information from, like, their teachers or something, does the school also keep one on file? So there's double on that one?
Yes. All the copies that the parents have filed with us, we also turn them into the school, and we keep a record of them as well.
Oh, awesome, thank you.
Those were my questions.
So,
Anna's got all
so
the
how long is
questions.
the mentor training?
So it is kind of ongoing. When I was first hired, we do have a week-long training called New Friends Training. And then any kind of training opportunities that come up, we take them, whether it be for our database entry or family relations and cultural, any kind of things that would benefit our work with the families.
There's a very long or large library of trainings on all different topics. Some of the topics, how would I handle this question from a child? Lots and lots of those. Eduardo's training was a little unique in that he was one of the first friends hired, and so there were no mentors for him to shadow. But typically, and now that we're expanding into Fort Hall, the newest friends who are hired, they go through that week-long training. There's some additional training modules after that. They're also shadowing Eduardo and the other mentor and observing how they're interacting with the youth. And then before they're set to be with youth, their own roster away from the clubhouse, they're expected to work with the youth at the clubhouse until they've demonstrated the ability to help a child de-escalate, to motivate a child who's feeling oppositional, to manage children who are being aggressive. Those sorts of things we are observing and supervising before they're ever allowed to do any off-site time, like other than the school. So going to the park, for example. Sure, after we've seen that you can successfully manage. What do you do with a child who's a flight risk? Those sorts of things.
Thank you.
And so you've been doing the program for 2 years now in American Falls, and you're going to start on the reservation this year.
Yeah, we have hired one friend who is in the midst of their training right now, and we are in the process right now of child selection and enrollment. So we're working with tribal courts and the Housing Authority and Tribal Health and Human Services and Fort Hall Elementary, many organizations that work with youth and can help us find the ones who need us.
And then I understand also that you attend the monthly meetings over at the Juvenile Detention Center, and so that you have contacts with all the people over there.
Yeah. My previous work was with children's mental health And a lot of my role was to respond to the school counselors in District 25 who had concerns about student safety for suicide or other self-harming incidences. I was also working with all of the juvenile probation officers for youth there, their mental health needs if they had dual diagnoses, things like that. So I have a lot of relationships with mental health and juvenile justice.
So what was your role when you would, with the suicide?
I was one of the crisis responders with children's mental health. The school counselor would call. There were 5 of us, we each had a day of the week that it was our job to be responsive, and so I would come down, I would meet with the child, I would conduct a risk assessment, determine what is the level of their harm, or their risk, I should say, what's the danger that they're facing for self-harm, and then determine what are the resources that are or are not in place. Do they need to be hospitalized? Is there insurance to cover that? Do they only just need counseling? What needs to happen? Create a safety plan with them to help them stay safe, and then follow up.
Okay, because you're a licensed counselor.
Yeah.
And that's what the role you were doing as a licensed
Yeah.
counselor.
That's what I was doing for the 5 years before this job. Before that, I worked at Bright Tomorrows with children who have
I see.
sexual trauma.
Yes.
So after this conversation now and pending approval, right, that's what we're doing next week, how many kids are you guys looking to take on out of
Oh, that's a great question.
District 25?
I can't tell you that. I can tell you that we're not enrolling more than 16 youth, eight boys and 8 girls, and 50% at least will be Native American, members of the Shoshone tribe. If there are youth, and one of the reasons that this became really important that we speak with you guys right now is there's a lot of mobility between children who live in Fort Hall and attend school there and children that then move into district schools and vice versa. So even if we only enrolled from the schools on the reservation or from the population that's living there, it's likely that they might move, and at that point, how would we sustain our model if they came to a District 25 school and we didn't have a working relationship? How would we be able to sustain what we do? So that's really what brought this to a head. So it's possible that depending on the speed of the enrollment, maybe by the time school starts again next year, maybe there would still be some openings, at which time we could accept referrals from District 25, particularly from Tyhee Elementary, which would be very close to the clubhouse that we'll have. But we can cross that bridge when we come to that. I mean, I feel hopeful, but it's not a deal breaker.
Thank you.
Okay, no more further questions? And so you live in our district, you're one of our patrons, one of our taxpayers.
I certainly am.
Yeah, and so we appreciate that. Would we like to have any further discussion? Okay. Well,
All right.
Gee, thank you so very
Thank
much.
you.
And Eduardo and Gina, thank you for coming tonight and answering all our questions, and
Thanks for your time and
All right.
your interest.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
thank you very much.
And I'm available for follow-up questions if you have any, if you need to
Right, so
email
you have
and
an
include
office right here in
everybody.
town,
Mhm.
and we have your contact information, so if anybody comes up with any further questions, we'll be sure to contact you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Now my computer went to sleep.
Do you need help gathering it?
I think I'm good, thanks.
My computer shut off.
Here, here,
Okay.
Your battery go dead?
there you go.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we have the preliminary budget discussion and presentation by Mr. Jonathan Balls. Oh, I think my computer died. You don't have a power supply?
Here, do you want to just share? Do you want to put your microphone on the other side? And then I'll just put my computer in the middle. And then I'll look for a
We'll get you.
cord. See a cord here. We have one on the way. Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon, board members.
These are the attachments for these three.
Again, this is some preliminary budget information, looking towards our budget hearing on June 16th. So I've attached three documents from the state that we have to fill out, or two that we fill out. One is kind of one that I've created for comparison purposes. but I think they're in the same order. If you click in your agenda there, the first one kind of has, it's estimating our M&O state support revenue. It kind of has some yellow boxes on there. Again, this is the state report that kind of helps us estimate our state revenue. And so again, this is what goes into the general fund, the 100 fund. And again, just a quick reminder that this is all based on attendance. So average daily attendance that gets turned into support units. Okay, and so again, as we've learned over the past few years how important that is, we are budgeting just because our fifth grade class is more than our incoming kindergarten class, that we're budgeting about 5 units less. And so making it, presenting a balanced budget with those units. One thing that this report, that I liked about this report, shows that the legislature has now separated out our on-site learners and our virtual learners. And if you remember, we have some learners that are participating through our high schools through an online program. And so, and I got with Dr. Howell and Mrs. Pettit and came up with about three units for those. And you'll see that's a lower factor, an amount. We get right around $3,700 less for those virtual amounts. So anyway, you can kind of see how it flows in. This is both for discretionary dollars, health insurance. We talked about that last week. Those increases, as well as our reimbursement from the salary-based apportionment.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
So when you mentioned that we have a lower reimbursement for the online students.
Correct.
Where they are teachers in a classroom, is that still going to work with our budget?
So yes, we get full reimbursement for the teacher because they're teaching either online or in person. But it's essentially, this is discretionary dollars, so you can almost think of it, okay, we don't have to pay for the lights.
Oh, okay.
You know, we don't have to really, it's that. I don't necessarily, this is the first year they've ever done it
Okay.
this way, paying for a smaller distribution factor for virtual. But, so it will impact us that those 3 units at the lower rate is about $10,000. But yet if, you know, without this program, would we have even got those units? You know, because again, some of our learners do need that online platform. So that's kind of the balance there. And you'll see at the very bottom here, I'll tell you how much a support unit is, and so we definitely need all of our support units. Again, just following on that right-hand side, again, just looking at the revenue, part of balancing the budget is first, okay, what monies are we going to get from the state? And then we look at the expenditures that we have under contract and we need to for all of our learners and for our staff. And then, of course, that's how we balance the budget there. So you'll see at the bottom right-hand kind, the total estimated support off of these units. Maintenance and operation is what M&O stands for. About 90,601,000. You divide that by the 532, it comes out to about $170,000 a unit. And that has increased quite a bit because of the health insurance, that reimbursement. Okay, so again, just kind of wanted to give you things. There's transportation. We'll get a little bit of money for transportation as that is reimbursed to us back in a 50 or a 85% category. Salaries and benefits and so forth.
I do have another question.
Please.
How much is the insurance? How much did it increase? I think you said it.
Yep. It increased 14.4% to the district and in the expense, but then we also did get 14.4% of an increase for reimbursement. Again, it's slightly a little lower because of our lower units. So part of our supplemental levy does come to help pay for our employees' insurance from the district side.
Okay.
This year, there is no increase to the employees. Okay. The second sheet, it's the one that's landscape. It's on legal if you ever try to print it. That is the most. There's a lot of things going on there, but again, that's how it calculates our what we get for our administration, for our instructional staff, for our pupil service staff, and for our classified. Again, all tied to our units. That's why those units are so important. And so, because it calculates how many that we are allowed, how much they're going to pay us. And you can see kind of the actual there. You'll see that there are some a little higher. I will comment, for example, the instructional. A lot of those instructional that we have actual that are higher because they're paid out of literacy. Okay, and so that's close to about another $2 million there that Mr. Watson kind of manages, and of course that supports our full-time kindergarten. And so that's why those literacy dollars are so important, because they're, and that's the difference between what we're allowed from the state and our actual FTE. And so again, we're based on the average. So the more for our teachers, the more experienced teachers we have, our average increases, and that provides us with additional funding there. Again, you'll see that the state does reimburse us for our Social Security and for our PERSI, for the state, and so that's obviously very, very important to continue on that. So again, a lot of information in there, but just wanted to kind of show you that spreadsheet as again we try to another tool to kind of calculate and dive into more details on that. It's called salary-based apportionment, or SBA calculation. Okay, and this third one is more kind of a summary. It's just something that I kind of put there that kind of gives us everything from the salary to the, again, units and the distribution, and also what the state has called special distributions. Okay, so again, under salary, we have those same 4 categories. Here's the base. Again, our units, all based on units, different factors. So you can see that's per unit, how many of those different categories we get per unit, how much we get for the salary, how much is allowed, and what we actually had this year, and then what we average get that reimbursement there. So again, the middle section, again, you've kind of seen that, some base support. And I looked as I prepared these documents over the past couple weeks. I noticed a slight discrepancy, and one was because this sheet didn't calculate the virtual. So I'll update this spreadsheet before next week and calculate in that virtual amount. And so there's just slight difference there. This, I wanted to highlight kind of that gray in the column. So again, we get some advance payments, but we get 3 payments based on actual data. One is February 15th, one is May 15th, and the other one is July 15th. So I'm using the actual payments from July 15th. Again, this year we were at 537 units. That's where we anticipate we'll be down 5. And then it kind of it compares to what we are looking at now versus what we're budgeting for the next year versus what we got on February 15th. Again, going in that last section under those special distributions, again, everything from transportation, college and career advisors, to digital content, English language. Again, you see the literacy amount. You'll see how again, $2.2 million, how important that is, a large portion of that. Math and science, professional development, ISAT remediation, safe and drug-free schools, and that last one, technology fund. Again, you'll see I put the fund numbers in there. Those don't come to the 100 fund. They have their individual funds that those monies get filtered into. So again, you can kind of see the difference. We anticipate in that bottom right-hand corner, again, about $1.7, $1.8 million overall. the majority of it is in benefits, as you'll see from that insurance increase, almost 1.6 million. And so that's kind of the revenues. Just kind of wanted to share that with you. This past week, I've been working on the expense side. I appreciate all the directors and the coordinators have put in reviewed their employees, as that employees and benefits are again 85% of our budget. Verified all their employees, looked at their looked at their supplies, their equipment, anything that they need, and that's what I'm doing now is kind of balancing that budget to look at the expense side. So that's what we're going. And again, these documents will probably be fine-tuned. Again, I know one change I need to make. Again, these are all draft. Appreciate you keeping that draft there. But anyway, we'll get some those documents submitted at the end of this week, so you'll have them to review at next week's board meeting as well. Again, any questions you can get with me afterwards, any component, because there are a lot of different, if you call them dials, to this budget and so forth. And this is only the 100 fund. As you know, we have 30 other funds as well, much smaller, but those are all equally as important there. So,
Any other questions for Jonathan? Okay, thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the donation of discarded books. Presenter A.J. Watson.
Good afternoon, trustees. We just wanted to make the board aware that at the end of the school year, we'll be donating some of our discard elementary textbooks to a foundation, Freely Receive, Freely Give Foundation, for students in Ghana. They've asked if they could use some of our resources that we're no longer using that are outdated because of new curriculum items each year. We discard books, textbooks, classroom resources that aren't being used, and they just get discarded. And so we just wanted to make you aware that they come and they decide, oh, these ones would be useful and something that they could use, and select some of those from the discard piles that we already have. So nothing new or materials that are being used in the classroom will be discarded, but we just wanted to make you aware, and no actions needed at this time in regard to that. Just information.
Okay, any further
Thank you.
questions? All right, thank you, A.J. Next up, Jonathan, with the
Sorry.
proposed fee increases for 2026, 2027.
okay. Again, this is kind of our yearly amount. Next week we will have it's actually it's almost a hearing for fee increases. Again, the statute says anything over than 5%. Needs to be reported, and so it is being reported in the paper. It was reported last Friday, and then if you make any changes or thoughts for today, if not, then the same one will be reported this Friday, Saturday, and then the hearing or the fee hearing will be next Tuesday, and that way we can incorporate some of these things into the budget. If you can go to the one that kind of summarizes. It's the Word document, the notice of fee increase. It kind of helps there, because I'd like to start with the majority of our fee increases are coming from our food service. Again, we kind of took a approach there. We have a tool through the USDA that kind of shows, taking in inflation, the consumer index, what our current fees are. And also looks at how much our free and reduced program is versus our paid program, because again, we cannot allow the free and reduced reimbursements that we get from the state and the USDA to subsidize those for a pay, and so it normally means it's an increase. So again, you'll see that's why these are all full paid, because again, free is free, reduced is 40 cents. And for those learners there, which is about, again, a reminder, 45% of our district is in free and reduced. And so these are those that pay full. You'll see the previous rate this school year and the proposed rate. And so, again, for elementary breakfast, increasing that by 10 cents, secondary increasing it by 20 cents, Again, elementary lunch, increasing it by 10, going secondary lunch up to 25. Again, Dr. Hall and I spoke, again, we're trying to look at, okay, providing value, a good meal, a healthy meal. It is a challenge, and even as we were talking these rates, that sometimes when rates increase, then our participation goes down. It's just, and that's, we want to provide value for a family that wants to, and it serves a good purpose in our educational process for these good meals here. Again, also, if an adult, whether it be staff member or someone that comes and visit the schools, again, adult breakfast, adult lunch, you'll be able to see, again, 25% increase there. And thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. 25%, no.
4.8%.
No, I think I looked at the 8.33%. Yeah, 8.33%, 25-cent increase there. And so that gets us closer. We're not at the level, and it's a guidance. Can report that we still are running in the black. We are still using up some of the during COVID years when everybody was free. We still have some of those carry forward dollars, and so the state obviously wants us to use those up. And so this kind of balances that we're getting closer to their what they suggest, but we're not there yet, and we feel that this it provides a good balance between those two numbers. Okay. The next one is the facility fee rentals, and I think again we're just kind of fine tuning. We have some great facilities. This is kind of the spreadsheet that has some black and red on there. And again, this document is only available in the board site. The newspaper article just says, that it does vary. The black is what we currently have, and the red is what we're proposing. Again, two categories, and there's a big shift that we'd like to make, and it's happening across the state, even across the nation as we look at some of these. To start out, we did kind of a nonprofit and for-profit. And so you'd have to, provide documentation for those nonprofit and for-profit. But it was difficult at times because everybody was trying to get for nonprofit, or they would use their sister company, or, oh, my brother has a nonprofit, so let's just run it, my rental, through my brother or by my brother's company and so forth. What the trend is going into, what we would like to do is about impact. And that makes sense, right? These are our facilities, taxpayer, board, taxpayer, funded. These are, the district and board supervisory roles over these facilities. So we want to put that to the impact. What impact do our facilities have? And so that's category one. It would be more like small practices, maybe some tryouts, maybe some small meetings. They're not using a lot of the bathroom supplies. They're not, they're not ripping up a lot of wear and tear. They're maybe 15 or 10 people there. Whereas category two would be the large impact. They would be your large performances. They're the ones that are packing the auditoriums, competitions, tournaments, anything with a spectator really is one. And we just kind of put out there, 20 people or more. Those are the ones that are typically charging or have the resources that we feel that can reimburse the rental. Again, I'll say that we do not want to compete. We have some great venues in our community that the businesses, small owners are running. These are taxpayers. We do not want to compete against them, right? That's their business. So we're not making money with these rental fees. We are just trying to cover our costs. And a lot of times you'll see that it's just we're covering a portion of our cost, okay? So you can kind of look to see some of this increase was previously we charged a maintenance fee of $25 an hour. And that was normal. That was the most I ever got talked about was rentals about the maintenance fee. Oh, I didn't see a custodian there. Oh, we cleaned up ourselves. And rightfully so, but yet it was still a matter of contention. And so we thought that let's just one fee just so people know, they look at the fee, okay, high school auditorium, if I'm just having a small meeting, again, you probably won't use the auditorium, but if you did, it'd be $30 an hour. And you can kind of see the difference there. Some of these are what we use. You see the big one. Okay, if we use a piano, if you use one of our tens of thousands of dollars baby grand piano or grand piano, obviously we need it tuned, and it's now the going rate is around $200. And so that's why that big increase there. But like our gymnasium, we were going from 25 an hour to 30 an hour, and then 80 an hour to 100 an hour. Again, trying to capture some of that maintenance fee, but yet trying to make a reasonable an option for again, clubs. Again, this is outside of school, so this is not open gyms. So if our teams want to do an open gym, obviously free. If it's a fundraiser, district administration kind of said that we would cover those costs there. So again, you can kind of go high school in that first section. We kind of added PV Tech in there because they're kind of unique. They have that gallery is pretty special, and so wanted to. That's very good rental. And then the middle school, and then elementary. They're at the bottom. Again, these are outside and inside. Just a reminder that our elementary, those fields are not. We don't charge, or nor do we rent for those. Those are kind of first come first served basis, and so that's why that elementary list is fairly small. And then if they need some equipment, tables, chairs, we just threw on there wrestling mats, chair mats, just in case someone wanted to borrow or to rent those. So that's kind of I know there's a lot of data there. If you want to look at that, if you had any comments, any questions, you can let me know.
Does anyone have any comments or questions right now? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Next up on the agenda is the review of the final draft of the Budget Advisory Committee framework, and I'm going to let Deanna talk about that.
And I guess everyone has had a chance to look at it, but just the purpose is that we've had requests of more transparency and I really think that this, I mean, we've all talked about this, we've all agreed on it. I just wrote this, but I thought the purpose is to really educate, because once I've learned more about how the budget works, it's helped me to really understand and appreciate how much things cost. And so that's purpose, establishment, composition. Just, I don't know if anybody has any questions, just 1 or 2 board members, district administration, certified staff, district staff. And then community members. And none of the, numbers are on there, but we can always decide. I don't know, should we put the numbers on there, or should we just,
Well,
number
what
of-
paragraph are we talking now? Does it
the
say-
membership?
The composition.
Looking here.
Because the first draft, I did put numbers,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Well, it's going to say the board shall determine the composition of the oversight committee. So
I made it a little more general,
Mhm.
because before the first draft was more specific, and I thought, well, in policy, maybe it should be more general.
Yeah.
So that each board
I
determine.
think that the policy was looking at generalities, and then a procedure would be more specific.
Yeah, so that's why I kind of took a step back and made it more general.
Okay.
But
And so
I mean,
we're just
whatever
looking.
you guys want.
So then at some point, we're going to have to look at a procedure for it as well. And so maybe you can, if you've got some ideas on that, you can maybe start some work on that. And how do people feel about the general policy here? I've looked it over and it looks pretty good to me, but I'm interested if anyone has any comments or discussion about that.
I just actually really like that it showed like the roles and responsibilities. Like this is what you'll learn and talk about and provide input on. It was just broken out like that.
Yeah. No, I like it. I think it looks good. Does anyone have any, suggestions? So then, what we're looking at here then is taking action on this for approval at our meeting next week at the regular board meeting.
And
And,
we can do any changes,
right,
you know,
and so
right
if,
now or then.
yeah, if anyone has any suggestions, then they could go ahead and send an email to board clerk.
And we can decide on the composition if we want to do that, so that it's all, I mean, a future board can change anything.
Right. Well, I was thinking then maybe we'll write that up in a procedure. Does that sound good?
That's fine.
Okay. Well, then I guess if there are no further discussion, then we'll be prepared to receive input on that. Could be sent to the board clerk, any suggestions or questions, and she'll distribute it to the rest of the board members. And then we'll be prepared to take action on that at the next meeting. So next up on the agenda is the 4-day, 5-day hybrid draft survey and committee formation. And we asked AJ with some other people to put that together. We have a copy of that here. I guess, okay, good. Let's go ahead and you guys can go ahead and tell us a bit about it, and we'll have some discussion and questions afterwards.
We were asked by the board to put together a survey in regard to 4-day, 5-day hybrid week, and so I provided coordinated with Courtney, and we also had Sue involved, but really Courtney was the one who took the information and was able to coordinate and put a very comprehensive survey together for you to preview and consider as far as what you were interested in and how you wanted us to proceed moving forward.
So as we develop this, the goal is to provide the board with informed, meaningful feedback for your decision-making. And so one of the things that is important is to provide that baseline shared understanding of what we're asking them to address. So you'll notice as the survey starts, there's some definitions. Because if you just go out and ask somebody what a 4-day week looks like, sure, then that's a Friday off or a Monday off, and they might not have that shared understanding that there may be some responsibilities on that whatever that 4-day looks like. And so we did the definitions for a traditional 5-day week, which we're on, 4-day week, and a 5-day hybrid week. And then we wanted to ask some, so that provides that neutral factual context and a baseline understanding of all of those models that are being considered. And then goes beyond that preference polling for, I would like this to really drill into those impacts related to childcare and work schedules, access to services.
I've got a quick question.
Sure.
Okay, so currently now, we're on a traditional 5-day week, but here under 5-day hybrid, it says a modified schedule such as early release days.
Right.
We have an early release.
Which we're really
That's what we really have now, right?
We're
An early
really-
release
Yeah,
day
we
on-
do.
now.
on Monday.
Yeah.
That was, I think that was confusing, that paragraph.
Right. AJ, go ahead.
Yes, there's just so many different models out there of what the hybrid. So, for example, in Idaho Falls School District, their 5-day hybrid model consists of elementary just having a 1-hour early release and secondary having, I don't remember if it's a Friday or a Monday, but they have just an intervention day. And so that's why sometimes these surveys can get a little bit convoluted just in terms of not really knowing what our actual format or schedule would look like when you ask these questions. There's a lot of variability out there across the state in terms of what these days look like. So doing our best to define those, but also knowing that, yes, you could call it a 5-day hybrid with an early release PLC Monday, but it really varies across the state in terms of what those days look like.
Doug?
Mr. Chairman, so really what we would need to make this more precise would be clarification from the board.
Yes.
Which I don't know if you want to do that here, if you want to assemble the committee to get their input. Last time we left off, was it 4.5 days? We weren't quite sure.
Well, I do have something I'd like to
Half
do.
day? Okay.
Yeah.
So really.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
Yeah, right now, I think
This
we
is
can have a little discussion. And thank you very much. That's exactly where I was wanted to go. And maybe it's a good time to start that discussion, because we've had a week to think things over. And I think that maybe in the intervening week, perhaps we've come to a little bit more of a consensus where we can tweak this survey a bit and maybe get it out as quickly as possible and move the process a little farther ahead. So right now we have basically a traditional 5-day week, if I'm correct, where we have early release on Monday. And I think an option that we might want to consider would be to keep our 5-day week. We had a lot of input from, I intentionally asked everyone to come and tell us what the district thought about what was happening and what was working well, the benefits and advantages, et cetera. And so I'm just wondering how people would feel about looking at these categories here, looking at the 5-day week we have now, but switching from early release on Monday to an early release on Friday. And so I'm just curious, and maybe we could just hear from each of the board members in regards to that. Deanna, how do you feel about that?
I like that idea, but I think that maybe we could do the workday twice a month if that's something that teachers feel like would work for them, because a lot of the 4-day week has been driven by teachers asking and requesting the teacher union. And so maybe that might be a bit of a kind of concession to make them happy, is to have 2-day a week where they have to stay the full day, and then the rest of the month, including the 5th. So the 5th Friday,
You mean on Fridays they stay until normal release?
for their workday.
But twice a month they leave
Twice
when
a
the
month.
kids leave. Is that what you're saying?
Twice a month they stay.
Okay.
They
Twice a
being,
month they stay till the end of the school day, and the rest of the month, so if there's 2, or if there's 3, they still leave early. So a lot
you're
of
saying
it-
they, you mean the teachers.
Okay, so let me just say that again. Our teacher professional development right now is on Monday, so we get out an hour early every Monday. And state law says we have to be in school till 1 o'clock to consider it a full day, to get, so we don't have to add additional hours, minutes, or days. We don't have to add anything if it's 1 o'clock. At least that's what we said that's what was said
No,
last time.
we get paid for that day as a full day, but we still have to do the required number of minutes, the required number of hours.
Okay.
So.
So it's a pay, it's not the minutes and hours.
Correct.
Okay,
It's the
perfect.
reimbursement from the state.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that clarification. So right now, we have teacher workdays where all the kids leave an hour early on Mondays. And Ray proposed to move it to Fridays. And then I would maybe additionally suggest that if the teachers feel that they can get their work, the coordination, collaboration done in 2 days a month instead of every single week. Because usually, a unit is a month, or it's 6 weeks, or, it's not weekly. So if they feel that would work for them to do 2 teacher work days, then that gives them the early release the other 3 days of the week. And then, you're going out of town or all that. I mean, it would be, nice.
So you mean to say the other 3 Fridays, not days of the week, right?
Oh, did I say days of, I'm sorry, Fridays.
just trying
Oh,
to-
I'm
yeah.
sorry. So just changing the teacher workday from Mondays to Fridays, and then asking the teachers if they would like to just have it be 2 days of the month.
Instead of every
Friday.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay,
That's just a thought. I don't know, I haven't asked anybody, teachers, feedback. I haven't asked for any feedback or anything, but that was just a thought I had, so.
Okay, Megan, what do you think about that?
I mean, I'm in favor of moving Mondays to Fridays. I think we still need to have dedicated time where they can do their cohorts and their trainings and their staff meetings. I don't know if that should be Friday morning. I think that you guys can handle that. Friday early morning, Wednesday after, I don't know. I think it would be a really good compromise but also keeping our learners learning instead of overloading them Monday through Thursday. Because you guys know my opinion on that.
Right.
I do think that the survey is really preemptive. I think it's the cart before the horse. That it just kind of would open up a big can of worms when we haven't quite narrowed down what we're leaning towards or what
What the board is,
information we have gleaned. Like, we haven't done enough research to shove all this out there yet. I think it would need to be A or B.
me too. Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I would definitely,
Yeah, I would want to hold off on this.
yeah, I would too. It needs to be just A or B, and just a simple, yeah.
Okay. Jim?
Well, I didn't know we were gonna send it. I guess I wasn't paying that much attention.
Oh,
But I agree with what Megan's saying about, I think the 5 days is good, and I can see the advantage for a little bit for having the earlier release on Friday instead of on Monday, but I don't know that it's critical. I think the kids are used to having their Mondays off and they plan for it. They've done well with it. I think if they did it on Friday, it'd probably work out just as well. But
okay.
there is the advantage that, you got an hour head start on a weekend, which maybe parents might like that idea of picking their kids up and heading out of town a little bit earlier than normal, but.
Yeah.
I do have another.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, no, wait, you.
No,
go
no,
ahead
you can
first.
go, no,
Okay.
I'm listening.
I was just kind of going off of that it's really because of all the feedback we've gotten. It's not because it's not working. It's because there is a lot of feedback that parents, hey, when are we going to move to a 4-day? People kind of, and then pressure, that parents want to go to maybe to a different school or a different district or a different charter or whatever that offers the 4-day. So that's what's driving this. It's not because it isn't working. It's just because of listening to people, what people want. And really, the first kind of group of people that really brought this was the teacher union. And so it was 2 years ago, I think. Or last fall, okay. And I guess it kind of started before that, but we've just kind of been getting requests, so that's why, anyway.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
Well, no, again, that's why I asked for input from the district, because we're looking at financial aspects. We were looking at especially the effect on special education. I really like the traditional 5-day. I think we pretty much got a consensus on that. And the compromise would be to move the early release to Friday. And I don't see any real opposition to that. I think that's based upon all the information we've received from the district. We've listened to Jonathan, we've listened to special education, we've listened to elementary and secondary. We asked for everybody for their input. And they, really told us that a 4-day week is maybe perhaps advantageous for a rural school district, but that the 5-day week really seems to work out best for us, looking at not only student performance, but the influence on our special education, special needs students, our special needs students, et cetera. So I like sticking with the 5-day week, and I think we've pretty much got a consensus on that.
I do have one more.
Go ahead.
I also want to make a comment. We've been talking about this, and we put it on the agenda to talk about, and we've gotten almost no response. So I feel like maybe it's not really that important. We haven't discussed changing the workday, and so maybe we'll get more feedback on that. I don't know. But we haven't gotten hardly any emails about this. And so that's another reason why I'm like, so my proposal is to put off looking at the 4 versus 5-day, and right now, just move the teacher workday, and then just see if that makes everybody happy. And maybe just see if that makes everybody happy, and maybe it will be solved.
Well, looking at it from a timeline perspective, if
Well,
we,
this isn't something we can do next year, is it? We can't change that.
no,
Oh,
no, we're looking at October to influence next year, is that correct? Or,
Potentially. If it's not as dramatic as what, if we were talking the 4-day model, no, nothing outside of that, I think we would have to give our parents more notification. If we're looking at a possible change from a Monday to a Friday, and I'm gonna look at my team, I don't know if that would be as difficult. But again, if you want to do surveys and so forth, then that would, I would say, that will push our timeline back.
Well, yeah, okay, well, yeah, again, just,
Fine.
again, I'm just floating some ideas
Yeah,
out here,
especially
and,
as we
and, you
look
know,
at-
we're, I think we have enough time to have a good discussion about this, and it might save us a lot of time and effort
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the meanwhile. If we have a consensus that we like 5-day, I mean, perhaps it's not even necessary to float the survey at all, or we can say, let's put it out for a week, and then that gives us more information to see who responds, who's really interested, and we can talk about it at our regular board meeting next week.
No, wait, can you clarify what you mean by put it out there?
I'm just saying, perhaps we don't want to, we aren't even, haven't even, we're looking at the format. Perhaps if we have a consensus, we might decide we don't want to put the survey out at all. Or we could look at putting it out for a week so we could make some decision. I think we might be ready to make a decision based upon what I'm hearing here, to go with a 5-day week with an early release on Friday. And if we can do that, we're going to expedite the whole process, because then we're just looking at whether we want to go semester or trimester. And
Yeah, we can move on to that discussion.
that's right. And, if we can reach a consensus, and based upon, we're already dealing with a lot of information we've received from the district, and that's specifically why I asked for that information. And so, if we can, if necessary, we can certainly have an ad hoc committee, and we can take a look at this. But might be able to save ourselves a lot of time and effort if we can avoid that, Megan.
So I am in favor of doxing the survey. You did a lot of work and it looks really good, and I appreciated your time on it. I would be in favor of just not doing it.
Mhm.
Saying,
I would be too.
hey, we think a good compromise would be to move that Monday to Friday. Have it work out with the teachers in the meetings, however that needs to work out the best. But I think that would make the community happy that has voiced, hey, we want a little more time with our kids. I don't think Monday through Thursday school gives you more time with your kids. I think it takes away more on Monday through Thursday, and then you get one. Anyway, we don't have to get into that. But I think it could be a really good compromise if we wanted to just go that direction now, if we're able to.
Okay, so yes, Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just trying to really quickly look at our professional development and how we have those 4 Mondays broken out. If we see anything that we can't work around, and maybe, but the discussion is today, so you got to think quick, all of us. But I don't, yeah. So just, and these
Well,
are
And you
not.
can go ahead and have all days. I'm just trying to make, I'm just suggesting that if the teachers feel that they have accomplished what they need to, maybe the survey needs to go to the teacher. I don't know.
So, well, when I heard that maybe it's 2 and 2, I just want to make sure that
It is.
if that's what the direction the board wants to go, I want to make sure that we are prepared to manage that.
So
Yes.
currently, secondary has, on those Mondays, we have PLC, PD, PLC, non-directed time. The non-directed time is in negotiated agreement. So if we're gonna take at least 2 of those Fridays away, or two of those days away, we would have to work on that to be out of negotiation, because we'd still need PLC and PD each month.
Okay. So maybe this is just in time,
Could be.
because we're in negotiations right now. And just say, hey, if you don't have that non-directed day, you have 3 Fridays a month off.
Or 2.
On a 5-week.
On a 5-week, you do 3.
And 2 on a 4-week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that something that we can
Yeah.
say right now?
It's doable, it's just,
It's doable. I think the thing that I'm trying to process quickly is professional learning communities are central to student achievement. And so how would we some other time have, I don't think it's this is just Amy Bowie, curriculum director opinion. I'm just going to tell you what I think. I don't think it's a good idea to minimize the amount of teacher collaboration for professional learning communities in terms of student achievement. I think it could have a negative impact on student achievement if we can't find another time, place, way to do that. And this was like pretty fast for us to try to figure out how we're going to do that. But I think some of the things for the board to consider of what happens in a professional learning community, there's that collective responsibility, that collective efficacy where like, it's different in elementary and secondary, but let's say you've got a high school math department, right? And they're seeing scores or what are our students learning? How do we know if they're learning it, and what are we going to do to fix it, or how are we going to move faster and enrich it? If they don't have time and place and space to do that, it means it doesn't happen, and that negatively impacts student achievement. So I don't want to just cut them and say there's no time for professional learning communities, because I do believe that research shows, and I believe that would negatively impact student achievement, and we've talked a lot about student achievement with the board goals. So we would just have to. It's a little fast for us to sit down and think where and when could we do that.
I would not recommend canceling them either, not at all.
Yeah.
And that's why I suggested if that works with everybody, then I think that might be. I think even once a month is not enough. I don't know, just in my opinion.
We could perhaps be creative in a schedule. It's just like right now, I don't know.
Okay, so we have a week till board meeting, so let's maybe process this a little bit.
Yeah,
I'd be worried too that there's a lot of sporting events Fridays, and so you're gonna lose out on PLC time with coaches.
Teachers.
You don't have as many on Mondays.
Attendance would be lower
But there's that flexibility.
if we can do it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Have good PLCs if you don't have people coming.
Yeah, and I think maybe that flexibility where if your math team has some coaches, maybe you want to see if you can get permission, move it so that it's off of a day that you're leaving town.
Yeah.
But the face-to-face with the student time, to me, is the top priority, even though this is a very big priority. The face-to-face time with the students is a little bit more of a priority to me. And so when you say Mondays versus Friday, well, that's face-to-face time with the teacher. And then Fridays is important, but like they can do a Zoom call, and things like that, in the evening, or, they can still do that within their contract hours and be flexible with each other. And then it's face-to-face student time not being sacrificed. It's still the same amount of hours that they would work.
And I think another thing to consider is we have had teachers just even in the last 2 to 3 years just requesting more cross-district PLC time. So can the math department, here's a good example. We just implemented amplified science, like for middle school science. Can we have, the teachers are asking us, can we have more time together cross-district where the 4 buildings of science teachers can meet together during that PLC? Currently, we have more things to do during PLC than we have time to do them in, and we have to prioritize, and teachers are often requesting for more time. So we would just have to really think about when. If it's not Friday afternoons, Ms. Wilkes is correct. Friday afternoons is a really difficult time to get teachers together to collaborate in PLC. So if it's not then, when? And could we think out of the box? Probably, maybe. We just haven't had time to do that yet.
Yeah, if they want to meet, I would say they can.
Well, yeah, it's just, but the schedules are so different. For example, a middle school, they get to school at 8, school starts at 8:50. There would actually be time in a middle school schedule for them to, we could, but it's just different from building to building level. The high school, there's no
High school
extra
is the
time.
difference.
I don't know.
So
Megan.
we're talking about one day, because it's the collaboration day or non-directed time. So it's really the other 3 that we have scheduled. So if we can be creative with that,
With one of them.
that's where we need to be.
Megan.
Would you guys need a week, a month to be able to look at that idea and then say, hey, this is what it looks like?
You can give us till next week.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Deal, that's a deal.
We could come up with a couple of proposals of like what that could maybe look like, for sure.
Okay,
And
So,
I
that's
have one more
perfect.
question.
Sure.
When it comes to contracts, if you were to say, hey, we are going early release Friday, but you guys still stay that later time on Mondays, is that possible in the contract?
It's contract time.
Well, I mean,
so we can.
because before it fit into their contract time, right? This would kind of like piggyback.
So if they, sorry,
no,
if
this
they
is
were,
still
if
in
they
their
decided they didn't want to meet on Friday, but they wanted to meet on Monday instead?
Yeah, so it was like an hour, right, is the meeting time?
Right.
So if they stayed later Mondays an hour, is that in?
So it ends up being flex time, then they have
Okay.
to work that out with their principal. Our entire group is going to not meet on Friday, we're going to meet on Monday from 4 to 5 or from 3 to 4, whatever.
Okay,
That's a principal would have to make
okay,
sure.
Oh,
that's what I was
just
wondering.
coordinating, flexible with the principal. Because the same, the hour is the same hour. Okay.
AJ, you said you know something?
No, I was just thinking, as far as when we look at that and we set the schedule, really identifying, PLC, because we have Mondays, we have two different early release Mondays. One is professional learning communities, which in elementary we have 2 of those a month. And then the other 1 or 2, depending on how many Mondays fall in that month, are non-directed collaboration. So for us, the non-directed collaboration would not be impacted as much as it would the PLC and PD, and just trying to figure out. There's very limited time in elementary to figure that out. I mean, we have a little more time after school hours usually, but a lot of those are dedicated to other meetings, staff meetings, school team meetings. So just getting creative and trying to figure out how we could still make it work, because we all know how important and how much we value not only that PD time, but especially the professional learning community time. And teachers do as well. So working through that, but I think within a week, we could have some definite conversations and talk with administrators and come up with some options in terms of what that could look like if that's the direction the board would like us to go.
Okay, so let me see if we've reached some kind of consensus. Let me float this idea then. Do we have a consensus that we want to stay with our 5-day week, and we're going to look at all these options as to early release on Friday? We're going to try to do that as much as possible. And you've got a week to think about it and to come back and present to us at our regular board meeting next Tuesday. But that we pretty much have decided we don't want to radically change things. We don't want to go 4 days. We're going to stick with 5 days. We think there's a lot of flexibility here where we can accommodate an early release on Friday, and that would be acceptable to the trustees. Jim?
Well, I don't know, listen to what Tanya and Amy and AJ have to say. I'll go back to my statement last week.
If it ain't broke, don't
If
fix
it
it.
ain't broke, let's not fix it. And I think he's got a pretty good working system. And I don't know, is it gonna be better if we change it? Is our system gonna work better, or, are we gonna lose some valuable instructional time if we try to mess around with it? And, maybe just leaving it like it is probably, I mean, I'm sure there's been a lot of time and effort and thought put in the schedule that we have now and the way that it works, and I don't know, this is my thought.
Okay, so you're saying 5-day, but leave things as they are. Megan,
No, I'm in favor at looking at,
looking at options.
yeah, and I do have one more question.
Sure, please do.
Tanya made me think of this question. So would we have less student absences if we're out Friday and less substitute teachers for sporting events? Like, would it help us that direction?
Oh,
As far as subs, I
High
don't
school?
think so, because when the kids, Fridays are just horrible sub days, that's just the way they are.
But I mean for coaches leaving early,
For
like
coaches leaving early, maybe,
a little?
maybe a little.
Handful in each
I do
building.
have a,
But they
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that every day of the week, almost all through the year, don't they? I
They
mean,
do, yeah.
I mean, it's
Like-
not just Fridays that they have to take off early, and it's not
That's
just
true.
Fridays kids are missing school
Yeah.
for sports.
But they're missing it right now, too,
Right.
so.
Okay, so, Megan, based upon that answer, how do you feel about things?
I still would like to see what they
You'd, you'd like some input on that?
I think the teachers would appreciate that.
Yeah, okay. Deanna?
in my experience with boys that did sports the entire year, different, every different season, they did a different sport, they would miss a tremendous amount of less school. They missed a ton of Fridays. And so that's that instructional time. And so that's why I think that this, yeah, there's give and take. But I mean, I'm just saying from my perspective, having had 7 kids go through the school, my kids would miss less school. And then I would also say that I just this morning was talking to a friend who, they have I don't know, somebody in Blackfoot that, has a 4-day. And they talk about how difficult it is to get all those concepts in, And so that was another reason that I thought, maybe we need to really think about a compromise, and maybe, because the teachers, I mean, when you say it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, well, the teachers have been asking, and the entire teachers union, said, we want this,
Well,
and
4-day,
so
or-
we want to listen. Yeah, and so they came. I mean, the representative came and said, we all want the 4-day. And so we can't just not listen. And so I thought maybe a compromise might.
So you agree with Megan?
I do.
Okay, I'm gonna
Sorry,
I'm gonna
say I
side.
agree.
I'm gonna side with the ladies. Sorry, Jim, but I think this is a good idea. Let's just say we're gonna go with 5, and you guys have a week to look at this and present us with more information, and then there's no need for the survey. Are we in agreement on that?
Yes.
Okay, so kill the survey. Thank you very much for your work.
Can we ask one clarification before we get to work?
Sure.
We just want to make sure we understand the proposal is just move exactly what we're doing on Monday, which is a release at 2:30. Or depending on the school, an hour early. You want to move that 1 hour early to Friday.
Yep.
Just we're
Yeah.
talking 1 hour.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure we're working from the right framework. Okay.
I won't be here next week, but I would also love to hear what feedback you get from the principals on
Yeah.
logistics for that.
So if you're not going to be here next week, it's just going to be us 3 because Heather's gone all month, right?
Bring it in June. No, we can decide that, because we need to move on to semester, trimester.
Yeah, and
We got to move on.
I feel like we have a lot to discuss with semester trimester, and I would like to spend a lot more time on that.
Okay.
I agree with
All right,
that.
all right. So
That's a priority
Yes.
for me.
You could also do a special meeting, so you could
Ah.
postpone it a couple days or a week. There's nothing to say that you can't schedule another meeting to follow up
Just to
when.
quickly,
Yes, quickly. I
if
mean,
it
maybe
works for you.
Yeah,
would-
so-
If you would rather talk about this at a special meeting.
Yeah, I'm free next Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday?
Sure. Yeah, you just can't make it next Tuesday. You can make it next Wednesday.
So,
I'm okay with that.
do you want to? Do you want to? Can I make sure? Can I make sure I really
Yeah,
can?
that
We'll
gives
do
us
it.
another day.
So this, not tomorrow.
Right.
But then it would be a week from tomorrow, but it would be after the board meeting, but what about Monday?
Oh, good.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We
Okay.
wanted that for the board meeting, right?
And I just, after I
we
said
can-
Monday,
yeah,
after I
we could
said
just
Monday, I'm like, I can't do Mondays.
Pull
Never
it
mind.
from the
Okay.
agenda for next Tuesday, make a special meeting time for Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay, so we're going to have our regular board meeting next Tuesday, where we will
Okay.
defer any action on this matter. We will have a special meeting the next day
For action.
for action
Okay.
in regards to all the information you've gathered about moving the release date from Monday to Friday.
Okay, yeah, because
Okay,
we want you to.
so then, so let me summarize then, if we all understand each other then. Okay, we're going to stay with a 5-day week. We are not going to put out a survey, and we're going to have our regular board meeting, but we're going to let you guys gather information, and then we'll make a decision on this matter next Wednesday.
Mhm. And Tara sorry, I have one more question.
Sure, Chloe?
Would you be able to put out some, do we need to decide on a time right now, or do you want to put out like an email saying what time? Okay, okay.
Okay, we'll
Alright.
decide on the meeting. Okay, this is good, because we're
Very good.
making some good headway. And so now all we're looking at is semester versus trimester, and that's for another discussion at another time. But to the degree that we can get this all settled without some kind of ad hoc committee or something like that, that's going to make things much easier on everybody. And I'm just glad that we've received a lot of input from the district level administration, and that was very important for me to see how everybody felt about things. So I think we're all comfortable with that. And if that is the case, we will allow you guys to leave here. And it looks like that's my computer is locking up. It looks like that's the end of our agenda. And so therefore, that concludes this meeting, and I hereby declare us adjourned.